Fellas, how in the hell are we doing here today? I know once again it's been a little bit since we had an upload here on the channel, but today we've got a review for you of a game that's quite old at this point, and when I first heard of it, it was a game I was extremely skeptical about. Doki Doki Literature Club. I have not heard of that at all. What is that? Yeah, what is Doki Doki? I got my phone right here actually. Well, I'm just sitting here. The game just wants me to just sit here and not do anything. Yeah, you got me f***ed up, dog. I'm not playing this. I instantly just saw the pictures. That's one of those like telltale games where you're like a kid at a high school or something. It's an anime girl visual novel. No, don't look it up. We might have to watch the trailer or something. Don't get up. I already did. 10 out of 10 on Steam. Wait, this might be game of the year. But since then, after actually playing it, I will say that this is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed playing, and I just had to come here and talk with you all about it today. This title released in 2017, and was actually the first game produced by the small indie team that made it. With that all being said though, let's not waste any more time on intro remarks here, folks. Let's dive straight into things here with a full review of Doki Doki Literature Club. Doki Doki Literature Club is a free-to-play dating simulator-esque game that was developed by Team Salvato and is available on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. While yes, it's available on every major gaming console, this game really thrives on PC, which is what it was primarily designed for. That's hands down where you'll get the best play experience possible. We're going to be getting into heavy spoiler territory here as we go over the game's story, so if you haven't played this for yourself, just save this video and come back later. Or if you don't care at this point, since the game's already 8 years old, just strap in and get ready to hear about the absolute insanity that is Doki Doki. I would also like to preface this too by saying this game deals with emotionally heavy subject matter, such as self-harm and suicide, so if these are things you don't feel comfortable with, you might just be better off turning this video and staying away from this game. But with that out of the way, let's get into things here, okay? This game presents itself as just another cutesy waifu dating sim game, but it's really not that at all. This story follows you, the protagonist, as you reluctantly join your school's literature club, primarily because of all these hot girls you get to spend time with every day after school. The other members are Sayori, who's your bubbly, outspoken childhood friend that lives right down the street, Monica, one of the most popular girls in school, who's good at everything and also the club president, Yuri, an intelligent, soft-spoken bookworm that enjoys literature probably more than anybody in the club, and Natsuki, the youngest of the group who can be rather aggressive at times. This game reels you in as just any other dating sim where you're trying to win over one of your various classmates by writing poems you'll think they'll enjoy. But as the story progresses, you're occasionally dropped subtle hints that everything isn't as hunky-dory as it seems. Around day 4 of being in the club is when the story starts to just straight up downward spiral, descending into chaos rather quickly. You soon learn that your happy-go-lucky childhood friend, Sayori, has struggled with depression for quite some time, and she's not doing okay at all no matter what choices you seem to make along the way. Even if you chose to pursue her the most during your playthrough, this day always ends up the exact same. She confesses her true emotions to you, and sometime later you're given an ultimatum to either tell her that you love her, or tell her that you'll always be great friends. Once again, no matter what you decide to say, the next day is always the exact same. You wake up expecting to walk to school with Sayori, but she's not answering her phone. You eventually just leave, and when you arrive at the club, you find a poem by Sayori that is extremely unsettling. You realize she might be completely heading off the deep end, so you rush back home to go check on her, but once you get there, it's already way too late. You discover that she's taken her own life by hanging herself in her room. This shocking revelation is where the game completely loses its frickin' mind. In the top left corner, the game refers you to the actual game files, where you can find a document that was just added where you can see someone tampering with lines of code that make the game. There's even text added as if somebody's in there having a conversation with themselves while trying to remove Sayori from the game. In the files, there's also an image added titled Happy Thoughts that shows a pixelated, disturbing picture of Sayori who's essentially been killed and mangled by the game itself. After these revelations, before you even have a chance to process what's going on, the game resets itself all the way back to the beginning on the very first day you started, but now Sayori is nowhere to be found, and there's no mention of her ever even existing at all. The game is also completely distorted from here on out, with everything from the text to the visuals being tampered with in various unsubtle ways that progressively get more and more graphic and disturbing. As you progress through the first day for a second time, it's now Monica who approaches you to join the literature club that currently only has 3 members. Monika, Satsuki, and Yuri. From here on out, the playthrough progresses just as it did the first time, where you write poems for Satsuki or Yuri, but they both seem to be driven mad by external forces, while Monika appears rather fine. Except now she has this sort of extra infatuation with you that wasn't prevalent in the first run. Throughout the entire playthrough, you can never directly pursue Monika through poems, but on this second run, the game is almost trying to force you into picking her, even if you tried going for Yuri or Satsuki this time around. Once again for this playthrough, once you reach that infamous 4th day in the club, whoever you decided to pursue is tragically killed, this time right in front of you. After this scene takes place, Monika approaches you and reveals that it's been her who's been messing with the characters and the game itself this entire time. She begins wiping the entire game, and you're suddenly transported to a house where it's just you and her that appears to be out in some interdimensional cosmic space. This conversation here with Monika also gets incredibly deep. She starts to go over the entire game with you, basically saying she wanted you to pick her the entire time, even though you literally can't do that in any way, shape, or form. And then she started to alter the game to try to influence your decision, even though that still didn't seem to work. She also confesses here that she's the one that drove Sayori into killing herself, along with the other 2 girls in the club. Just to rub salt in the wound too, she describes in detail how Sayori ended up dying while making it sound as awful as humanly possible. Monika also seems to have a full realization that she is just a character in a video game, and starts to refer to you not as your character, but as you, sitting there at your setup in real life playing, completely shattering the 4th wall. I don't want to spoil too much of this conversation for anyone that hasn't been through it, but the conversation then shifts to her essentially going over the meaning of life and how she's so happy that it's just you and her together forever now. This conversation seemingly goes on forever too. There is a ton of different dialogue she goes through, but once it finally finishes, she just starts back from the top over and goes over the exact same stuff. The only way to truly free yourself from this game is by taking Monika out the same way she took out the other girls. You have to go into the game files and delete her. Throughout the game, anytime one of the other girls is killed, their file is permanently deleted from the game. So if you go into the character file and delete Monika, the scene starts to malfunction and glitch out as she's being erased from the game. As a final act of kindness, I guess you could say, before she's permanently gone, she decides to fully reset the game one more time, and you wake up on the very first day again with Sayori, Yuri, and Satsuka with no Monika in sight. It seems like you finally found the happy ending you were searching for, but after a lengthy conversation with Sayori, she almost just acts as the new Monika. She expresses this deep infatuation with you, and the scene changes back to the cosmic space house you were in with Monika, but with Sayori instead. But before you can even process what the hell is even going on, text pops up on the screen saying something like, "No, not this again," and the game finally just cuts off with a black screen. Once you finally reach this point, this is where the game reaches its final conclusion. Before the credits roll, we get our first and only voice actor, which I assume to be Monika, judging off of clues dropped during the game, who comes in and sings a little song to wrap things up. As she's singing the song, the credits start to roll, and then there's just various pictures that'll pop up on the screen, and then you see in the game files that these are just being deleted as they go. The game's just essentially being fully wiped. If you play through this just kind of normally doing whatever, doing your thing, there's really no way to get any sort of actual good ending. The only way you can get the true positive or good ending is by starting up a new playthrough, and then you have to keep like saving your game back and forth and go through every scenario possible, get every single extra bonus scene to pop up all in one playthrough. And you also get this little secret note from the dev himself where he kind of just goes over like what this game meant to him, how proud he is of it, and things like that. It's honestly really cool if you're able to find that ending. It's just a lot of work. Okay, I know I probably didn't do the best job at explaining this game. I wasn't trying to sit here for an hour and talk about it. And I know that's kind of a lot going on, but I just felt like it was important to give the entire context of the story, since that's really all this game is at the end of the day. And with that being said, the story that they deliver in this game is truly special. I thought they did a fantastic job in every way imaginable. The beginning starts off rather slow, and I was almost getting a bit bored at times just clicking through conversations, but all that time before the stuff really hits the fan is actually very crucial to build up care and sympathy for these characters. So once things do actually get crazy, it hits you even harder. This game also tackles very serious and sensitive subject matter with the suicide and self-harm, that I was not at all expecting from a waifu game called Doki Doki. The way this game uses the game files too, where you have to go through searching for new stuff being added and you get all these little Easter egg pictures or quotes or whatever, is also fantastic. I've never seen that done in a game and it really threw me off. I wouldn't say anything in this is really all that scary depending on your age group. They do have a few gotcha jump scare moments, but it mainly just feels very shocking whenever stuff starts to get into the deeper, twisted elements. Overall though, the story comes off as just some random Gunnar waifu sim, but at its core it's actually extremely deep. This is a game that might not be suitable or recommended for everyone, but the people that can take it are in for a wildly interesting and rather thought-provoking play experience that I personally was not expecting at all. Okay, switching over to the gameplay and mechanics here. I know we got rather extensive into the story segment, but that's mainly the real meat and potatoes of this game. For the actual gameplay of Doki Doki, there's really not much at all here in terms of mechanics. All you really do is click through conversations, click on decisions whenever available, and click on words that don't even necessarily flow together in a cohesive sentence in order to write a poem for one of the various classmates. And that's pretty much the extent of the gameplay. Typically for me, I like a game with a great story that actually has a bit more of an involved play loop, but this isn't trying to win you over with an addictive combat system or gameplay loop. It's here to tell an interesting story in a very unique way and fully succeeds at doing so. Also, as I've already mentioned, I don't really enjoy playing these kind of dating sim games, and early on in my playthrough I felt like I was getting bored of the game rather quickly. When I was playing this, it was pretty late at night, so I was getting extremely tired of just staring at the screen and pressing left click like this was PC cookie clickers. But once you hit the point of the story where things start to really get crazy, I was fully locked in and invested. I think I stayed up till like 3 or 4 a.m. playing this game, and that's honestly kind of unheard of for me, because I've been going to bed around like midnight, 1 o'clock, even on weekends lately. But this game had me locked. Switching over to the visual aspects of this game, it certainly doesn't look bad, but there's really not a whole lot going on until you actually get to the point where the game starts to go insane on itself. For the most part, all you really get are still images or a still backdrop with a 2D character model standing in front of you that might occasionally change facial expressions in reaction to the conversation being had. The game doesn't really kick the visuals into a higher gear until the second playthrough after Sayori's passing, where you start to get all the various unsettling jump scare-esque flashes of the characters being morphed to look disturbing, or text that pops up out of place in conversation. On my very first playthrough, I was getting a little bored of how stagnant the visuals were, but once the game started to change or corrupt, I was actually really intrigued to see every little change that would come from the various decisions I made. And then on the second run, I actually really started to take my time with each character interaction because I wanted to see how they were being affected by Monica controlling the game, and there were so many times where I felt uneasy or shocked by the situation I was witnessing unfold. Moving on to the audio portion of this game, there's really not much at all for this category either. It's basically the exact same thing as the visuals. There's no voice actors during the playthrough, but there are some pretty cheery background music that scores each scene and sets the mood for the conversation. Also, just like the visuals, this is further expanded upon once you get to the second playthrough, where it actually starts to distort and change whenever the game seems like it's going off the rails. While this feature may not seem all that special, the audio becomes a very important part of creating an uneasy or scary environment whenever the game starts to alter the visuals. The creepy background music and sound effects almost plays an even more important part of changing the mood and atmosphere than the visuals did. Without the unnerving sounds, the game would not have delivered on being as shocky or scary as it was. And I thought they did a fantastic job at making situations feel as creepy as possible. As far as bugs and issues go, anything that would technically be considered a bug or issue is actually a completely intentional element of the play experience, whether that's your game files being tampered with, or text and character models being altered mid-playthrough. I never had any genuine problems during my time playing this game that actually felt unintentional to the gameplay that they were trying to deliver. I will say though, I'm playing this game many years after its initial release, so maybe there were problems when it first came out. I have no way of telling that, but as of right now in 2025, the game ran pretty flawlessly and it was a very smooth experience the entire time. In conclusion, Your Honor, Doki Doki Literature Club is an extremely unique, shockingly fun, and wildly entertaining good time. Like I said in the intro too, at first glance, this looked like a game that I was not going to be interested in at all, but it was actually a very enjoyable play experience. I don't think I've ever played or even heard of a game that pushes the boundaries quite like this in terms of storytelling interaction. If I had to wrap this all up into a rating today, 1 to 10, It's getting a very strong 9 from me, coach. It doesn't have much replay potential once you've found all the secret scenes, and it can be a bit sluggish at the start, but once the game gets rolling, it does not stop and it is incredibly interesting the entire way through. Since the release of this game, the dev team behind it has been a bit quiet, but according to their website, they have a few new projects in the works, and I cannot wait to check out what they come up with next. If you're somebody that hasn't played this game for yourself, like me, 8 years after its creation, I highly recommend that you go out and try this for yourself. You might have just had most of the stuff spoiled for you from this video, but trust me, it is a great time, especially if you're on PC. You're gonna really enjoy this. Go check it out. But with that all being said, folks, I think that's gonna about do it here for this review. If you've also played Doki Doki yourself, comment down below and let me know what you personally thought of the game, because I would love to hear it. And if you enjoyed this video today, please make sure to give your boy a like and subscribe for more gaming reviews like this. But that's gonna be about it, everybody. Thank you for your time. Have yourself a good one. This has been Lunar, and welcome to Bound.